This is yet another example of the blatant racial double standards that govern our society, and personally, I've had enough of them.
Casting anybody but a white redhead with blue eyes bothers me so much. Little Mermaid was the first movie I watched, the first Disney movie I watched. So growing up, that was how she always looked. And then you go and change her skin color, it's messing with that sentimental image that I have of her.
Look, there's something getting lost in all of this noise that folks have to understand, and that is Disney's Little Mermaid was a turning point in history. John Musker, Ron Clements, Howard Ashman, and Alan Menken, the team that made The Little Mermaid, revitalized Disney feature animation by way of this film in 1989, re-establishing the once struggling studio as the preeminent animation juggernaut, and that made an impact. It was like the KT extinction that wiped out the dinosaurs and gave rise to the age of mammals. It changed everything. There is a reason people have nostalgia for the original version of this film, and nostalgia is a powerful force. It gives light and warmth to our memories, and sadly, I too am not immune to it, especially when it comes to animated films. I grew up in animation studios, mostly Disney feature animation. The Little Mermaid was the first feature production my mother worked on as a background artist coming out of television animation. The background in this scene here was painted in part on our kitchen table because my mom was a single mother and she would often bring work home with her on the weekends. I didn't just grow up watching these films. I grew up watching these films get made by artists who put an incredible amount of labor and love into them, crafting experiences that would embed themselves in our psyche and become cherished memories which shaped us. It was in part because of The Little Mermaid that I followed my mother's footsteps into the industry and became an animator on The Simpsons, and I was not the only one. So when these classics are changed to fit some new idea of what some people call political correctness or wokeism or identity politics or whatever, all I can say is it's about time. I love to see it. It's so cool that it's happening, and it's long overdue. It's wonderful to see the love for the first Disney film survive long enough that it gets a remake with changes to better fit more modern values of inclusivity, just as it's wonderful to see the joyful reactions from folks for whom this new version is a personally powerful force for long overdue representation in film. There are so many different and creative ways to retell the stories we all loved growing up. After all, Hans Christian Andersen didn't write the original story as a musical. Disney's version isn't even the first adaptation of the tale into the medium of animation, though it is the only one I know of to change the entire storyline, from the mermaid having her tongue cut out by the sea witch, feeling like she was walking on sharp knives wherever she went, smiling through the pain of her brand new human feet being torn up and bleeding, nearly unaliving the prince and his bride on their wedding night, and then dying but gaining an immortal soul in the end, into a completely rebranded Happily Ever After musical with a direct-to-video sequel. And these same folks doing a heckin' concern about authenticity don't seem to be complaining about any of that, but I digress. Halle Bailey looks and sounds like she's perfect for this role. Melissa McCarthy is brilliant in anything she does. And I am looking forward to seeing this version and thankful that I lived long enough to be granted this chance to build my own memories out from it, while simultaneously watching it craft even more meaningful experiences for other people that will become cherished memories which shape their lives too. I don't speak for all animators, of course, and your mileage may vary, and I can't even begin to imagine the added dimensions of the visual of an extraordinarily talented, beautiful Black woman in the role of a world-famous Disney character singing about her lifelong wish to one day be accepted as a fully fledged human being. And because once an animator, always an animator, I hope it inspires more young women of color to want to become animators themselves and becomes a turning point in history in its own right. And if it flops, it is not going to be because the actor playing Ariel has a different skin color than the original cartoon. All that hopefulness aside, this live-action Disney remake of a 2D animated Disney feature will no more replace the original film than amphibians replaced fish everywhere in the animal kingdom, and folks who are upset because they think it will are starting to rhyme an awful lot with these paste-eating knuckle knobs. As for the attempt to strip the issue of context, like rising sea temperatures or stripping coral reefs of their biodiversity by comparing it to swapping in white actors for non-white roles and asking where the outrage is for that, we all know that's a bad faith argument. Neither the plot line nor the context turns on Ariel's skin color, and remaking the original to reflect the diversity of the movie-going audience will not actually hurt fans of the original film or impede their continuing personal enjoyment of it. There is literally no valid argument against doing it. So do all those poor unfortunate souls who are still feeling a certain way by one change within a 2022 Disneyfied adaptation of a 1989 Disneyfied rewriting of an 1837 fairy tale originally written as part of an anthology. May I suggest taking a cue from Disney's 2013 adaptation of The Snow Queen, another gritty Anderson classic whose entire storyline was changed to fit an evolving Disney formula, and let it go. Oh, and while we're on the subject, a final word on nostalgia. Nostalgia can be comforting, but it is deceptive and it can be very dangerous. Of all the human emotions, it is the one that should be trusted and indulged in the least. Nostalgia is a lot like the tiger enclosure at a beautiful wildlife preserve. It's fine to admire from a safe distance behind a reinforced barrier, but you don't fucking climb inside of it because you're not meant to live there. It's not your home, and if you linger long enough, what does live down there will eat you alive. Have a great day.